Welcome back. Retailers rolling back DEI. Walmart, the nation's largest private employer, now cutting back on its diversity policies. The company also removing some controversial items from its website, including items marketed for transgender children. Retail giant Target, meanwhile, also losing its bid this week to shut down a shareholder lawsuit, which claims executives misled investors with a woke agenda and wasn't prepared for the massive backlash over its Pride merchandise last year. Joining me now is the former vice chairman of Target and former Toys R Us CEO, Gerald Storch. Jerry, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Give us your reaction to this rollback in DEI and Target, what it's facing right now. Your thoughts?
Well, look, you're dealing with two things that are closely related. One is DEI policies inside of companies, and the other is what goes on inside the store and what's happening there. In both cases, what they have in common is it's not the role of these companies to get embroiled in politics and controversy. Inside the companies, I think people wanted to do the right thing after George Floyd. This is what everyone else was doing. Every other one's doing it, so let's do it. And they went too far and started getting involved in areas that are not appropriate for a company. And they should be focused on what does it take to run a good business and give customers what they want every day. And outside, inside the stores, you saw customers saying, I didn't come here for a lecture. I don't want to come here to talk politics. I don't come here to talk about things that are controversial. I came here to buy my laundry detergent. Why is this going on when I'm just trying to have a wonderful time and, take my hard-earned money and buy stuff? And here again, I think companies lost their way. You have employees, minority of employees encouraging you to take an active stance. And whatever you believe, you have to tell them no. You have a small segment of customers who's always telling you to push one thing or the other, or boycott this, or don't do this, or do that. And again, you have to just tell them as a CEO, no, it's not our role. Half the country wants one thing, half the other. Don't get in the middle. It's not what we do for a living.
Very, very good advice there, Jerry. Let me switch gears, get your take on the macro story here. Retail experts are cheering a record surge in online holiday sales from Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday, up 8% from a year ago. But I know you've got concerns about the strength of the consumer. How do you see things?
Look, I think this is going to be a tepid holiday at best. The only hope is that there is some enthusiasm around the presidential election, and maybe people will pull forward some hope that taxes will go down or that the growth will recover in the economy because of President Trump. But keep in mind, half the people don't think that anyway. They didn't vote for him. So, again, the country is very split on that. What I see is a consumer who's heavily, heavily in debt, a consumer who is spending all their money on inflated costs for housing, inflated costs for health care, inflated costs for food, and they don't have a lot of money left to buy fun things. So when you hear those numbers like 8% growth in the internet, big deal. It's been growing that same pace all along, all year long. That's what it grows at. The internet's taking share from bricks and mortar. The best reports I've had is that bricks and mortar at best were kind of flattish over this same weekend, giving you that total growth when you take the bricks and mortar and the internet in kind of the 3% range, which is something you kind of yawn about as a retailer.
Well, it's also worth noting that much of the business, or a big portion, was put on credit cards, Jerry, right? I mean, people are in debt right now.
Between credit cards, buy now, pay later, consumers are still in debt from last Christmas. And then they're facing, next year with even a higher debt burden. You saw the big increase in the buy now, pay later balances or transactions over Black Friday weekend. And I think some consumers kind of act like, oh, it's not really spending or it's not really debt. Well, it's both. It's debt. Trust me. And so you add that on top of those credit card balances, and you have a very stretched consumer, particularly in the lower income strata.
Jerry, let me ask you about tariffs. A lot of debate and, upset over President Trump's leveraging tariffs. How do you see it?
I think it's a ridiculous, unnecessary panic, a classic overreaction to what President Trump says. Overblown, premature, not going to be a big issue. I'm so tired of hearing about it.
I totally agree with you. I mean, the argument is that if he puts tariffs on things, prices are going to go up. No mention of the fact that all of that reckless spending in the last administration sent prices up.
Hey, we talked about this, Maria, during the first Trump administration when he put taxes on Chinese goods. I said it wasn't going to be a problem for consumers, and it wasn't. Guess what? the best studies show that, in fact, just like he said, the weight of the tariffs were borne by the Chinese manufacturers.
It's great to see you, Jerry. Thanks so much.